Fighting Force is the video game definition of a mixed bag. It's a game that's lacking in a lot of aspects, but in a lot of other aspects, it's really cool. For one thing, this game has just a fantastic feel and style. It's basically you or you and a friend playing as 4 different badasses walking around beating up people in this 3D world. It's like a normal 3D beat 'em up, except it feels so much like Streets of Rage. I mean, the fact that you have 4 people, the fact that these people are a lot like the characters in the Streets of Rage games, the various environments outside or indoors have the same type of feel as the various Streets of Rage games. This game basically feels like the unofficial sequel to Streets of Rage, and that's fantastic. Because Streets of Rage 2 and 3 are among the greatest beat-em-ups of all time, Streets of Rage 2 is probably the greatest beat-em-up of all time, period. The places where this game lacks is kind of the combat. It's a bit slow. I mean, it depends on the characters. The female characters are a bit faster to control, and the male characters do have some fast attacks, but mostly the combat, it just isn't as fluid as it should be. You're basically going to an area and fighting like a bunch of people that are attacking you from all sides. You can fight them by kicking, by punching, by doing jumping attacks, or by running at them and doing these kind of sliding or sometimes rolling attacks. There's also a bunch of different stuff you can use in the environment, much like Streets of Rage or really any great beat 'em up, to actually beat up the enemies. Anything from stakes to fire hydrants to just axes. I mean, anything you can think of. Basically, the environment is very useful to you. You're basically like Bear Grylls in a fighting game. You use everything around you to your advantage. Except after you're done using it, you don't just eat it. Every bit of calorie helps! Oh, that's a horrible British impression, isn't it? That's not only is that a horrible British impression, that is probably the world's worst Bear Grylls impression. Embarrassing. In this game, you play as this prototypical guy, this huge guy, and these 2 hot chicks. The regular guy is, you know, the guy you'd expect to be like the best character. He's basically the Axel of the game, but he's probably the worst. I can't put my finger on it. I guess it's because he's kind of slow, he doesn't hit that hard, and his attacks are just so meh. You know, everything about it, like his punching is pretty lacking, his kicks are okay, but then his rolls and his jumping attacks just kind of suck. There's nothing real great about this particular guy. He's just kind of uneventful. Then you have this big hulking brute, and this guy is awesome. I mean, he's a bit slow, but he hits like a truck, and his attacks, where any other character would maybe do like a grab and punch or a grab and a light throw, this guy can pick you up and just body slam you. Not only that, he can throw you across the room. I mean, this guy is a colossus, and his punches and kicks do so much damage. This guy is just fantastic to play, but he is a bit slow. Then you have the 2 female characters. They're basically like the normal guy, but they're a bit faster, and their attacks actually look a little better than his. They don't hit as hard as the male characters, but they can string together better combinations, and they just move around when it comes to combat a bit better. So the 2 women are like a little better than the average guy, but not as good as the big hulking guy, who is really the best character you can play as, just because of how great and just destructive his attacks are. I mean, body slamming a dude while his friends watch and cower in fear, it's fantastic. On top of just using the environment, you can destroy a lot of things in the environment, like just completely obliterating cars with punches and kicks, breaking through doors and fences, breaking various machines to have things fall out of them, like say some soda so you can drink the soda and refill your energy. Really, while this is the unofficial sequel to Streets of Rage, this is really the unofficial prequel to Soda Drinker Pro. The boss battles in this game get pretty tough, and the regular fights in this game are pretty challenging too, especially when there's a lot of enemies coming at you. The game has a great concept. It looks good, it has a good feel, but the actual combat, which is like the bread and butter of beat-em-ups, that is sorely lacking. It's a bit too stiff for me to call this a good game. I mean, honestly, to me, this is a good game, but looking at it objectively as a reviewer, it's just not good enough to be a good game because its combat just isn't that good. Why is this game good to me? Well, mostly nostalgia. I mean, the first time I played this game was like 1997. I was a kid. I played it on a demo disc, and I was just hooked. I had to play the full version, and when I did, it just felt amazing. Just because I played the demo demo of this game over and over, non-stop, for hours at a time as a kid. To me, this was a 3D Streets of Rage. Looking at it now, it's not even close to being on the level of Streets of Rage 2 or 3 or even 1. But Fighting Force does have its own place in history, not as a great game, but as an interesting game that you should definitely check out. It gets an official Stan Birdman rating of a 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Goodbye, my friends.